Okay.
We're live!
Hi!
Laughter.
Hi, Dr. Khushboo! Aditi!
Just realized, like it looks like I'm sitting in a corner, like I'm being punished or something. I'm not. This is like the only place I have where I have nothing on the wall.
Have you been bad?
So bad. I'm bad because I'm not scared of entities. People tell me I'm bad and scary because of that.
Well,
So, is the
but you're
fear of
perfect for talking to
entities
the
real
entities.
or are entities real? What would you both say?
Entities are real. The fear of entities is not real. Not for me.
Yeah, like entities, of course, like if you're talking to entities and we're going to do a class and talk to the entities better be real.
And if one, they better be real, and two, we better not be scared.
Yeah. And yes, like I understand like the fear, etc., because I did grow up having it. Like I remember watching movies. I remember my brother scaring me about this tree and how there was something there right outside my room, and I was just like really scared. And I did grow up being really scared. I did grow up sleeping in my parents' room for the longest time in the night. Like I would literally go like, no, tonight I'm gonna stay in my room, and then in the middle of the night I'll just wake up, there's nothing in my room, and then run to like literally run downstairs to my parents' room and then sleep. So yes, as much as I'm making fun of people who are fearful today, I have been there, done that, and I know what that is. And but what else is possible? And
So
as
what
soon
were
as
you told when you were scared as a kid?
no, for
Were you told they're
Enemy.
not real, or were you told methods of how to get over your fear?
No,
The one
so
thing I used to get is, "Are you crazy?" Yes.
I was just made
Are you
fun
crazy
of.
that you're imagining that there's something
Yeah.
like ghosts?
Yeah.
I think it was just made fun of. Also because like grew up with brothers, so I think it was just made fun of. It was like you're so funny. Like how if there wasn't really any education about it, and but I wasn't told to protect myself or etc. I was just like, dude, you're funny.
I
Like
was
you're
always
crazy.
told that there's nothing called ghosts and this thing, and I should get over myself. And then a few, like my grandmother, who was very fond of me, would, she taught me Hanuman Chalisa, and every night she'll say either keep it like learn it by heart. And there's one line which says, "Bhoot Pishach nikat nahi aave, Mahavir jab naam pukare." Some.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so really, like I would either spend my day, I spent most of my life telling myself that I have to somehow know that they're not real, and I'm imagining it. And the second was okay, when I couldn't, and the palpitations and the whole thing was too much, I would say, okay, let me either quickly say Hanuman Chalisa or do something, like they'll say burn the incense or whatever. So how, a lot of us who are now, we know that entities are for real, and how much just the awareness of them, acknowledging them and acknowledging our capacities of entities has completely like opened up.
Yeah, but it's like, it's so weird. Like, do you like it? Would you like it if somebody said, "Oh, I need to be protected. I don't want her anywhere near me. I need to have a protection shield." Do you like that? Like, if you're in the same room with somebody and they wouldn't acknowledge you, how does that like?
And they'll put agarbatti or sab jala denge ki tum bhago 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 bhago, and it's so like, I mean, it would be like,
it's like, what's the difference between an entity and you? The entity doesn't have a body. But it's like, acknowledge them. Like sometimes, and like, if an entity was an asshole with a body, then they'll probably be assholes without a body as well. But it's like the personality or all of that doesn't need to change. But like just acknowledging that, okay, it exists, it's there. Like if somebody said you weren't there,
Yeah.
So, but when somebody just like looks at you and like acknowledges, it's like, oh, okay, they're there, fine, and then moves on. You're not like, you know. So one of the things that acknowledging that entities exist creates that. It's like they're there, yeah, hi, you know. They're not more powerful than you. They cannot be more powerful than you unless you let them be that.
Yeah.
So it's like
And
if you
that's what-
don't, yeah.
And a lot of aggression that you're talking about, right, that you sense with entities, it's sort of a lot of it, though I'm not saying all of it, a lot of it kind of disappears once you just start acknowledging them. Because it's like a child, you know, like when a child is trying to get like the mom's attention, but like the mom is busy cooking and she's doing too many things. So the first thing mom, like mom, like it's a gentle, soft, hey, I want to talk to you, blah, blah, but you're not listening, you're just really busy. And then the kid gets a little irritated. Listen, mom, please listen to me. You're still not listening. You're still in your this thing. And then
You finally get to, mommy!
or like a massive tug on your dupatta, whatever, like listen to me. Like, but you're not listening. I know you can hear me, but you're not fucking listening. Nobody seems to be listening to us.
The kid is on the floor in a shopping mall, like literally like waving his hands and like, yeah, you cannot ignore it. Like that's literally what entities are doing. It's like, yeah.
A lot of that aggression that you sense is that, hey, that like almost frustration where, you know, I know you can hear me. I know you can sense me. And dude, I just like, imagine you died and you were like trying to get someone's attention and you knew they could speak and you just couldn't get through to them. How frustrating would that be?
Yeah.
And that's that aggression, you know, and that can show up as a lot of like unwanted signs and symptoms and scary signs and symptoms of ghosts, but it's not really. It's just someone trying to get your attention.
And it's also, it's like one of the things that I've noticed with this whole COVID thing is like how many entities like suddenly had the space to move around and they were just like, there's so much space, nobody's outside. And it's like they were just having fun out there. And then they were like, oh, I still need company. I want to like, they still want some attention. Like yesterday I went to the mall for the first time after like 6 months and I went shopping. Oh boy, did I go happy. But it's like I went to the shops and it's like, suddenly I was like walking around and I like noticed these entities and I was like, hi. And they were like, oh, cool. Okay. You people are real now. Like this is not an figment of our imagination. It's like people are actually moving about in the mall because the mall was locked up for so long and like nobody, like they just like were happy in there. Nobody was fucking around with them. And then it's like, and so it was really strange to me. And I was like, okay, hi. And then I started noticing like people had these entities walking with them. And I was like, oh, like these people have like how much you would think like when you had so much space, like you would like, and so much space to acknowledge things that they hadn't taken that to acknowledge it, but just continued pretending like it didn't exist. It's like for me, it's like COVID has given me this opportunity to like acknowledge awareness, acknowledge growth, acknowledge expansion, potency, power, so many things.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense, but it's like when I was in there, it was this awareness of like how much people had not actually changed their energy or realized what had happened in the world energetically. But there were these entities who knew that. And they were trying to get people's attention, but nobody was actually getting it. And I was like, oh, okay. At one point, my mother also noticed. I was like, is it an entity? She's like, oh yeah. And then she just walked on. She was like, okay, now I know. And then the entity was also like, oh, she gets it. Okay, cool. But it's like, I don't know if it makes sense to you, but it's like, it wasn't about fear. It wasn't about protection. It was just about acknowledgement. It was just like, oh, they exist.
And how many of us are, like, literally all of us are walking with entities around. Like, it's not something that special people.
We are Indians and we have ancestors. Let's not fuck around with that.
Yeah, totally. That's the funny part. Actually, that's a paradox. कि एक तरफ हम कहते हैं है नहीं कुछ नहीं है भूल जाओ, and at the same time we have so many totkas and everything of तांत्रिक बाबा के पास जाएंगे, झाड़ पोछ करेंगे, इससे हम वो कोई और हमारे लिए कुछ कर देगा, मंत्र पढ़ देगा, कुछ झाड़ पोछ कर देगा, जिससे हमारे घर में ये dangerous
Yeah.
log nahi aayenge, you know,
Shanti,
like,
yeah.
and that whole, and for me, the gift of the talk to the entity classes has been, and the tools basically has been that there doesn't have to be any mediator. I don't have to make entities greater than me. I don't have to make anybody else to do it for me, so that aap isko hata lo, matlab, you know.
Yeah.
But that's also the thing, right? Because what the tools do, and what the whole, like, the way that talk to the entities is presented, it's like nothing is greater than you. But
Yeah.
you also you also have to acknowledge how great you are, how aware you are, what capacities you have, like something that's beyond this reality. Like, to a lot of people, entities are beyond this reality. They don't get it, but they know it. This is just a way of you acknowledging your knowing, and it's like you're not less than anybody else. You can go to all those babas, and none of, like, they don't have something that you don't have.
Yeah.
And this is
Nothing
just like,
outside of you is greater than
yeah.
Yeah. And that is the beauty. I think earlier, talk to the entity I saw only as just to get rid of my fear and my child's fear, and somehow make life easier, and not hear these voices constantly and think I'm going crazy and I need a psychiatrist. And after that, once I did 2-3 more classes of the channel, and the more I engaged with these tools, I realized that it's actually the actual gift of trust is trusting my knowing that I know, and then actually building that muscle, which I'm still building, but trusting that I'm knowing. Even now, sometimes I'll say, okay, let me ask a TTTECF, because they may know something I don't know.
Yeah.
And let me quickly, call one of them and say, what are you getting? Because I thought I'm dumb, I don't, but immediately getting into that space, like,
Yeah.
what do I know that I'm just refusing to know or unwilling to know for now, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And if I just
Exactly.
allowed myself to know it,
Yeah.
I already know it. I don't have to. And that's such a, like, I feel like it's beyond just getting over your fear, acknowledging they're real, and knowing you're
like,
not.
imagine exactly this. Like, so imagine growing up in a world where you knew what you knew, versus now growing up the way we've grown up, wherein I don't believe, or superstition, wear this dhaga, put a kala tika. Like, okay,
Basically,
fine.
constantly save yourself from them. They're wrath.
Very disempowering, because now I'm growing up believing that I can be harmed by something outside of me because I am that small. Do you really want to grow up and continue to be in a space that tells you that? Or would you like to be the most dominant entity in your life? And then talk to the entities from that space and acknowledge them and be the kindness you truly be, and the contribution you can be to all of these entities, energies, and people, therefore.
And the greatest protection, quote unquote, protection, is to I do it like this. It's like, you make fun of it, like, like, it's just fun of it. But it's like, the protection thing about it is basically like, your awareness is your greatest, quote unquote, protection. Yeah. If you're aware of the entity and you know that they're an asshole, if you saw a snake coming up on one side of the road, would you like go and say hi to it, or would you cross the road? Why would you not do that with people with bodies? I'm like, oh, okay, that's an asshole. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go there. It's like, you make a different choice. And so it's like, your awareness is your greatest protection, because it always gives you choice. And so it's like, nothing and no one is more powerful than me. I used to get really pissed off, and this one priest used to come to our house to do pujas, and like, everybody was like, oh my God, that's one asshole. I still, like, in my head, whenever I hear him, I'll go, because I just want to kill him with a knife. Yeah. But I knew when I started Access, I knew that I was angry with him, angry whenever his name came up, because he was controlling. He was controlling my family. He has 3 houses, and all 3, I'm pretty sure, are funded by us. We have sponsored it. It's like, and the first time, and like, I'm like one of those people, it's like, every time he would come into the house, my grandfather used to be around. It used to be for puja for my grandfather, and I wouldn't be able to get up. And then one time I just told my grandfather, I was like, if you don't want him around, my grandfather's dead, by the way. If you don't want him around, do something about it, or tell me how to do this, because I don't like, you don't like him, but you have to tell me what has to be done, or you need to shut up and walk away because you're not going to do this to me anymore. And eventually that man stopped coming. And so it's like, and for that I had to be more powerful, I had to be more potent, I had to like literally be that energy of, you walk in and you fuck with us and I'm gonna fucking kill you. Because he was using us, he was controlling us, he wasn't actually empowering.
And that's how we've dealt with entities in our culture. There's been a lot of control, there's been a lot of use, there's been a lot of this.
One person is greater than others, one's knowing is greater
abuse,
than others.
So
it's like, if you're ready to get out of the abuse of this and actually step into the knowing, the power and the ease of it, how much more fun can you have? It's like, for me, it's fun knowing that entities are around, because it's like, sometimes I am somewhere and I don't have money. I'm like, can I have some money now? And the money shows up. Or can you help? What would it take to have this? And like, I'll notice an entity and like, can you get it done? And it's like, yes, and we'll get it done. Like this time when I paid my taxes, I paid my taxes and I've never paid this much taxes ever in my life. And literally I had, at one point I could hear an entity and I was like, oh, can you help me with this? And it went through super fast because I was having trouble with it. And then the moment I asked, it went through super fast. So it's like, they are around if you want support, assistance. Like, they're there to do that. They have a job. They can do a job. But it's like, they're not more powerful than me. They're just there to assist me. It's my choice that allows it to show up. And if you're willing to have that power, if you're willing to go beyond this reality's point of view about power and potency and possibility, what would be available? Like, how many more powerful, potent humanoids can we have in this world where consciousness always dominates? Like, what a gift that would be to the planet as well.
You acknowledging your awareness, your willingness to acknowledge everything that's in your space will change the world. Like, literally that. So, are you willing to open the door to being in communion with every energy and every entity that is in your space? And that is what Talk to the Entities and the tools of Talk to the Entities gives you that space to start being in communion with everything, to be very aware, to be very clear, to start acknowledging, so that you're never like confused and you're not like troubled or overwhelmed, but you actually be the dominant entity of your world. So that's our invitation.
That's ability, right? I mean, as children, when they're just born and then looking, and you think they're just generally giggling and laughing because you are cooing and playing with them, but actually they are talking to different energies and responding to different energies. Sometimes they get like that, have horrific face, and sometimes it's like it's like, fairies and those spirits of the earth and elves and everything. They are so when they're in the nature and they're playing,
but that's also the thing. It's like, the moment you cut off the awareness of any one energy or entity, you actually cut it off from all of them, because receiving is all of it. So it's like, if you weren't scared of, you think if you think one entity is more powerful than you, then it's like you basically said, I don't want to receive from all entities. Like, you basically, when you shut off, you're not just shutting off from that one entity. You still have to receive that entity.
That whole world you are basically putting a back on, like, राक्षस से डर लगेगा तो परी भी नहीं आएगी.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So if you want to have that the fairies visiting you, and the leprechauns and the elves and all of that.
And the funny part is, we say, when we try to negate them and dismiss them, but at the same time we're also believing in angels, and angels do this for us, angels do that for us, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, and it's also like, they can't actually do anything for you unless you want it.
Very loved ones.
Yeah.
And they say, my mother still visits me, or my sister's still around and I can sense her presence. So
Yeah.
the same people get into the rationality and the logic of it when it is a general world of entities.
Yeah.
But the fact is, you cannot then differentiate, that my loved ones I am aware of and they are talking to me and I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
But entities are not real, and then it's, hallucination. We go get psychiatric medication and
Yeah.
sedate your awareness basically. And I feel like how much, how much we will see mental disorders so differently if we engage with the tools of these
Yeah.
talk to the entities.
So it's just the willingness to acknowledge, and it's like,
Whole
what if fear?
world.
Yeah, it's like, what if fear wasn't real? Like, what could you access and receive and choose that would create more joy in the world, more ease, more peace, and like allow that the gentle energies to come through. Like sometimes it's like when if there is something that I've been refusing to receive at any point of time, and I've lowered my barriers and I've started receiving that, the first part of it is like the first part of it that I always perceive are all of the judgments of it. And once the judgments come through, but like I receive all the judgments, it's just like, is this relevant? Is this relevant? Is it relevant? Like judgment is not relevant. And then suddenly there's this big, beautiful energy that comes along with it. And then I start receiving that. And then that grows and that expands. And to actually have that beautiful energy in my life, I've had to actually acknowledge, oh, this also exists, but it's not relevant.
Yeah.
And what talk to the entities has shown me is that possibility. Because it's like there was a time I wasn't willing to deal with certain entities, but I had to. And only when I got to dealing with them, I was like, okay, fine.
And that's what it does. Just there's progressively more peace. Like I had the point of view before this is that if I do talk to the entities, I'll have to like keep doing this, like keep talking to entities. I thought it's going to be more noisy and more demanding if need. But it's not that. It's actually progressively more peaceful. There's less of doing. There's more of being. There's so much more space after having talked to the entities. So much more. Do you want to have that space? Have you been asking for peace? This is one of those doorways that I know works and has worked brilliantly for me.
And all you need to do, like literally, I mean it. It's like, don't make fear real.
Yeah.
And like learn how to deal with these energies, learn how to deal with these entities. And that's what, and it's like, for me, I'm the weird one who from the beginning, like totally enjoyed entity stuff from the moment I heard it in Access. And so for me, it's like dealing with them, I've learned to have more fun. From the very beginning, I've had fun with it. It's never been about fear. So when somebody tells me about fear, I'm like, oh, really? I don't know how to deal with this. But it's like but I also get that fear does exist because I've had fear in other ways. But entities is the one area where I didn't. So I know it can be fun and I know it can be easy. And it's like, are you willing to have that? And would you like to join in that adventure?
And I want to invite, I also on your behalf, the parents, because as a parent, I feel like just like what Khushboo shared about what you were told as a child, and how, imagine if your parents had these tools and they just taught you these tools as a kid. And with my son, I have seen that, like daily it will be like, I see this, I see that. Now this is happening. Now there's some spiders are crawling. Now some Scorpio is there on the fan, and now one monster is sitting there. And I was in fear. Oh my God, what's happening? Like what do I need to do? Call someone, clear entities, because me and my son are in danger. And how do I protect him when I'm only so petrified? So my only motivation was so I can, save my son and keep my house safe. Was my main interest in getting over my fear. And then I realized that those conversations, the moment I acknowledged my entities and my awareness of entities. My son never had those, initially I just had to tell him, and then he never had those. Yeah, tell me.
There you go.
So,
And it's literally that simple.
It's so simple, and it's the fun part, because in some other modality, I had actually learned how to engage with spirits of the world and clear spirits, but it was such a, like that, the whole procedure only was so scary and dramatic for me that I was like, something goes wrong, I'll be like, oh my God, curtains will move from right to left. What will I do? What is so perpetual fear? Like, I have to do this, but I don't want to do it. And this is so, like, while I'm talking to you, while we are talking in our minds, we can clear entities. It's so simple. I'm like, oh my God, really? Like, this is what I was scared of, and it was that simple. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I would like all parents, all children, and can come and learn these tools. And then also, I have this soft corner, like as a student of psychology myself, I've seen how entity awareness is turned into the most terrible mental disorder, which has to be curbed, dismissed, and basically sedated with medication. And I'm like, what a gift if you have someone who's been diagnosed with some mental disorder, or you yourself are on medication. What a different reality could open up if you so choose, if you just added one thing of just entity awareness and tools to clear it.
Exactly.
We would be living in a different world.
I mean, I'm like, wow. Like, I mean, it's like वो कहते हैं ना, पूरी तरह से जी लेंगे अभी, बच के डर के थोड़ा इधर थोड़ा उधर करके जी रहे हैं अभी. It'll be like,
yes,
what will it take?
Yeah. Wow.
Awesome. Thank you, Vasudha, for this.
Thank you.
And this is our invitation to, our upcoming class. When is it starting?
9th.
9th. 2 days into 4 days. So 9th to 13th of September. और इसको मैं हिंदी में अनुवाद करने के लिए बिल्कुल पूरी तरह से तैयार हूँ थोड़ा, क्योंकि मुझे कभी कभी लगता है, पता है, इट्स नॉट अबाउट कि इंग्लिश नहीं आती तो हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन करो. मुझे लगता है एटलीस्ट नॉर्थ इंडिया में कि हम डेली लाइफ में कैसे बोलते हैं ना, भूत दिख गया, भूत, या चुड़ैल चिमड़ गई मुझको, या लाइक या राक्षस, वो उसका मुंह एकदम राक्षस जैसे हो गया, या वी से इट सो नॉर्मली इन आवर डेली पार्लेंस. तो वो जब हम टूल्स उसको उस हिंदी में सुनते हैं और क्लियर करते हैं ना, तो उसका असर ही मुझे लगता है बहुत ही डीप होता है, क्योंकि वो कहीं ना कहीं हमने जो कहानियां सुनी है बचपन में, और भाना को रात को कॉलेज ट्रिप्स में कैसे एक टॉर्च चला के सब इकट्ठे होके या तो स्पिरिट्स बुलाते थे और उनसे बात करते थे, और या ऐसी भयानक पोजेशन की कहानियां सुनाते थे कि she was possessed, and if you go to that mandir, nobody comes alive from that mandir. I've heard so many stories like that, and I was like, oh my God, imagine वो सब नहीं होता तो we may just take fun away from the college trips, which was scary because everybody knows the tools are like, क्या बकवास कर रहे, don't fuck with me. Let's have adventures like Harry Potter. Like sometimes I feel like, remember the Harry Potter goes and they're punished and they have to go to the jungle. And I'm like, these people are not so, not at all scared, for them, they can just walk into the jungle at night. और यहाँ हम सोचेंगे, पता नहीं यार, कोई चुड़ैल आ गई कहीं, भूत के कोई राक्षस, भूत इस पेड़ में भूत रहता है, kind of a thing that डर के आगे जीत है, like. Yeah. Wow.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah. Awesome.
So join us.
Yeah. And if it's like, remember there used to be one show called, what is it called? Vikram and Betal.
I know.
It's actually like my most favorite.
It was my most favorite serial. It used to come on Doordarshan every Sunday.
If you never want to deal with a Betal again, come and join us.
Yes. It is like Vikram and Betal's story with a twist. Exactly. Vikram is no longer helpless and at the hands
Vikram just stands over there and like tells Betal, go fuck yourself.
I know.
Where were you before that?
Who gave you this job? You're dismissed.
So,
Wow. Great.
join us. Like, it is definitely going to be fun. And just imagine how much we'll change everything. So, the more of y'all join us, the more changes we create.
There will be Hindi translation. Vasudha will be translating in Hindi. So you please can join us for Hindi translation. I know we speak English. I cannot say much Hindi.
That's okay.
Me no Hindi.
The first language is energy. And
The
we
first
will have-
language is energy. So I can speak to you in energy, I can speak to you in English, and I can speak to you a little bit of Tamil as well, because you may not understand my Tamil. But you'll get it. Come along.
Yeah.
We begin on the 9th through the 13th, 2.5 hours every day. Intro. You can join us for the intro, and then you can join us for the beginning, which starts immediately after that.
Yeah.
Come! It's gonna be fun. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Vasudha.
you.
Thank you, Aditi.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Whoever's gonna watch it in the future. Bye.